Hey everybody, it's Eric Pappenfuss. It's Friday, so it must be a bye day. And today we are going to talk about the British Monarchy. Why? Well, because first of all, we have today coming up Julia Quinn signing her new book, Queen Charlotte. But also last weekend was, of course, the coronation of our new King Charles III. Now,
not our new king.
Well, hey, I was not of the opinion that it was worth getting up early and watching the coronation. I know some people did, maybe made themselves an English breakfast. But Amanda, guess what Kathy and I did instead?
What'd you do instead?
We drove to New York and went to 2 book sales. Come on, you should know the answer to that by now. We went to Corning, New York, and then we went to Ithaca, New York for 2 of the larger book sales on the East Coast. And when we were in Ithaca, we also stopped by a great used bookstore called Autumn Leaves. And in the front case at Autumn Leaves, they had several books related to the monarchy. And I thought I would share them with you all today on Bye Day. Now, the first one is not an obvious book related to the monarchy because it is an early American Revolutionary era hymnal by Isaac Watts. So here is a copy of the title page of the hymn portion. There's also a psalm portion, and you can see it was published in Boston in 1774. Interestingly, this book was cherished by whoever owned it. They put in all the birth and date registers for all their family members. It was the Bush family. I don't know if it was related to the presidential family, and it was obviously in use all the way through the 1790s at least. This is common in Bibles, but you can also see that this book was really cherished. Now, do you know Isaac Watts, Amanda?
No.
He's considered the father of English hymnody.
Oh.
He was the first great hymn writer, and I bet you know some of his hymns.
Well, I'm Catholic. So.
Okay, well, you probably know Joy to the World.
Yes.
Okay, and here's one of my favorites, is based on Psalm 72, and it goes something like this. It goes, Jesus shall reign where'er the sun does his successive journeys run. His kingdom stretch from shore to shore, till moon shall wax and wane no more. A really catchy tune, don't you think? All right. There was one problem with this book, and that had to do with Psalm 75. So let's zoom into Psalm 75. Because Isaac Watts, although he was a great dissenter, which meant he didn't really believe in the Anglican Church, did say that this was dedicated to the happy accession of King George to the throne. Now remember, this is 1774. It caused a problem by the middle of the Revolution. And by 1781, American congregations weren't so thrilled about singing a psalm dedicated to George III. And so the president of Yale University, a man by the name of Ezra Stiles, got together with some other clergy, and they decided to rewrite it. And they rewrote it, and they said, "And applied to the glorious revolution in America, July 4th, 1776. And instead of King George and Britain, the words were changed to America." Now that's a pretty awesome change and a remarkable one. And just to show you, it really took off. This is the same book, Isaac Watts here from 1803. And it will show you very clearly that by the time you get to this hymnal, they've decided to simply get rid of all references to the king entirely and say that power and government comes from God alone. Now, it's a regicide of sorts. The king is completely removed, and you have nothing but a more patriotic Isaac Watts moving forward into the 19th century. One of the most popular books in all of America was that wonderful, wonderful hymnal. Now, we mentioned the word regicide, and Ezra Stiles took it one step further. Again, he was the president of Yale University, so an important man. Yale's important for Watts because Watts gives his library to Yale University and helps seed the Yale University library, which is sort of cool. Stiles learns his theology by studying the works of Isaac Watts, and right before he dies, Ezra Stiles writes this curious book, which we also just found, which is called A History of the Judges, 3 of them, of King Charles I, and these are Whaley, Gough, and Dixwell. And if you know New Haven history, you know that those are all street names in New Haven, Connecticut, and these are the judges that condemned Charles I to death. And what Styles is doing here, and that's a rather stately portrait there, wouldn't you say, of Styles, is he is writing a laudatory account of the people who condemned King Charles to death and who then fled to America. Mm-hmm. And they fled to New England, first to Boston, and then later to New Haven. And this is of particular interest to me because when I used to live in New Haven, we'd go on walks in West Rock Park. In West Rock Park, there was this rock formation, and it's actually illustrated here in Ezra Stiles' book. Kathy and I would go there, and this is where the judges hid when Charles sent people to the colonies to find them and to get them executed. They hid in this cave, and Stiles gives a great details. The judges were not found. They were protected by the colonists. They continued to sing Isaac Watts hymns. And but that is the story of the regicides. And this is a book that not only proclaims them heroes, but also is published in 1794. And you know what happened, of course, in 1793? We lost another king, this one the King of France, Louis, beheaded. Yeah. And Ezra Stiles was so excited. Amanda, he wrote things like, "Oh, this is going to convince all the sovereigns of Europe the vanity of withstanding the general and popular resolutions of a nation of enlightened subjects." And as the French Revolution became more and more violent, he was 100% for it. So is it any wonder, really, that we decided to go to a book sale instead of watch the coronation? I mean, this is American history. It is a history with rather strong objections to monarchy, Amanda, for sure. But to be fair, in honor of Julia Quinn and others, I did want to have one sort of pro-monarchy book, and we also found this in the case there at Autumn Leaves, and this is an amazing book. I don't know if you know anything about it, Amanda, but this is a 2-volume set dedicated to the greatest dollhouse ever made. So Queen Mary, who is the grandmother of Queen Elizabeth, created this dollhouse, which turned out to be really the most incredible dollhouse ever made. Look, here's the picture of the strong room. Now, everything was reproduced in the doll's house in 1/12 size. So 1 inch to the ground. Look, here's the garage of the dollhouse. Sure. Everything worked in the dollhouse. There was electricity, there was plumbing, there was it was just incredible. And here's a picture of the exterior of the doll's house. Now, in the introduction, they write, "This dollhouse is built to outlast us all, to carry on into the future in different world the pattern of our own. It is a serious attempt to express our age and to show forth in dwarf proportions the limbs of our present world." And it basically was all about the British Empire in the 20s prior to World War II and all the great things. And everything was created in miniature. Look, they had a working wine cellar in this dollhouse, and each of the wineries produced miniature bottles. How cool is that? But you know what the most interesting thing in the doll's house was? It was the library. And in the library, they had miniature books. Now, I don't have one from the dollhouse. That'd be worth millions of dollars. But here's an example of a miniature book. A miniature Bible that's at about 1/12 scale. We found this at the book sale just this past weekend. It's a child's Bible. Now, the ones that were in the Queen's dollhouse were all bound by the most fancy binders of the time. Look, Amanda, at how amazing they were. And they reproduced original stories, including an original story by Arthur Conan Doyle, our buddy, who brought back Sherlock Holmes one more time. And he handwrote it in miniature form, a tale about how Watson learned the trick. And this is the first printing of a Sherlock Holmes story, which is really amazing. There were 2 authors in England who refused to participate. Do you know who they were? It wasn't Conrad. He said he'd write one. Hardy said he'd write one. Can you think of a great 1920s British author who would not want to write for the Queen's dollhouse?
Agatha Christie?
That's a good guess. George Bernard Shaw, of course. But also Virginia Woolf refused to write a book for the doll's house. All right, we're going to end with a funny book, and it is related in a mocking way a little bit. And who can't find this funny? It's cat castles.
Sure.
And I'm going to give Rachel credit for digging this out of the last sale. Almost any collection of boxes can become a palace for your feline royalty. I love this. This is just fantastic. As your cat's empire expands, her castle can expand too. Just add more boxes. Cat Castles in honor of the monarchy. Thanks for watching. Please watch next Friday and every Friday at noon for more adventures in the world of books.